Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
All right, well, welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're talking to Tony Rivera. He is the managing director of Cohoes Music Hall. We're going to be talking about the upcoming season and all the other events and programs they have there. They have programs for kids, for seniors, for people. They worked with Center for People with Disabilities. They did a wonderful show. They have summer programs and everything. So welcome, Tony. Thanks for being back.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Now, I guess, well, let me start there. When you guys first started, obviously you were going to do musicals. Did you think you were going to be involved in all this other, with the kids, the teenagers, the seniors? Was that part of the plan?
It really was. Yeah, in the beginning we thought, in addition to having a really great theater company, we thought using the arts as the educational tool was part of it.
Oh, okay.
Definitely was. And, you know, that's part of our mission, too, not just presenting high-quality professional theater, but also an educational program.
Right.
We didn't really think of working with people with disabilities or actually with senior citizens, but definitely it started off using, like I said, theater for a teaching tool for the kids. And now it's sort of expanded into other programs.
And besides the 5 plays that we're going to talk about that you're doing this year, you do 2 shows a year with the teenagers, is that?
Right. Well, we've got a younger group, 5th through 12th grade in the fall, and then in January it's usually with just high school kids.
And you're doing 2 plays this
We
year.
We are. In November, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor
Okay.
Dreamcoat. We just had auditions for that on Tuesday. We had 76 people, kids audition for that, which was really fun. And then in January, Titanic,
Oh, okay.
musical.
Now, is musicals, I don't know, is musical theater becoming popular now with kids?
You know, it
seems
really
it
is.
seems like
you know, thank God for those shows like Glee.
I know.
And now the movie musicals are back with like Chicago and 9 and High School Musical. You know, I mean, now it's kind of cool.
And now what kind of, are kids really, you finding some talented kids in our area?
You know, we are, and it's you know, by some people's standards in the theater world, they might not consider them too talented because it's not legit musical theater. It's really pop.
Yeah.
So you have shows like American Idol. So You Think You Can Dance and America's Got Talent. So everyone now wants to be a pop star. And it's a very different form,
Yeah.
obviously, as theater, but it's now cool to be in chorus and you know, the Glee Club, which is great for the theater goers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it is.
Well, for our season, why don't we we're going to talk about your 5 plays you're doing this season, and give us the short capsule history of Cohoes Music Hall. Not the whole history since the 1800s, but since you and Jim Charles took over, and, you know, this is your eighth or 9th?
We're going into our 8th
Yeah, give us a short little thing since when you took over in 2002, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about the upcoming season.
Sure. Well, you know that Jim Charles, the artistic director, grew up in Cohoes.
Oh, that's
and
right,
This
yeah.
is his hometown. And it was about 1999 that he said, I want to show you this beautiful theater. And I walked in and said, we have to do something here. It's only one of 3 still existing theaters that were built in that style in the 1874. It's called the showboat style, the way the balcony wraps around the orchestra. But you know, since we've been there since 2002, we've done a lot of renovating to the space. We upgraded a lot of the technical aspects to the theater that was needed, and we're going on to our 53rd full main stage production, which is really exciting, moving into season 8.
Well, okay, so for people watching, when they come to Cohoes Music Hall, they may not be aware of this, but if you've been there, people know. You guys, the Cohoes Music Hall presents professional theater. I think we need to distinguish that, so when people come, what the quality of the actors, singers, dancers, musicians, everything. Tell us what that means when they're seeing professional theater as opposed to
a community theater or something. And I have to say, there's a great source of entertainment in general, both community professional theater in the Capital Region. We're so blessed and lucky to have such great talented artists in our area. But for what we do at the Cohoes musical theater, it takes a special breed to do that in a 2-week rehearsal period, because that's as long as we rehearse our shows, just for 2 weeks, and then we run them for 3 weeks only. So we go to New York and we audition our directors, choreographers, all the performers.
So all your auditions are in New York City?
They are in New York.
Well,
we do have some local auditions as well, but the majority of them are all in New York. Actually, Jim Charles was just there 2 weeks ago and saw over 630 people in a 4-day span. So let you know how many performers there are out there
it's
looking
really,
for work.
It's unbelievable. Well, whenever you read the cast biographies, when you go to a play, not just at Cohoes, anywhere, the things are like this long, and they've been in Dallas, they've been in Fort Worth, Vancouver. They're like these people. It must be a tough life, but they must love it.
They do, and they're really incredibly talented. They really are. And for us, for our company, it's always we're what we call a producing theater company. There are a lot of other companies that are presenting, like Proctor's, for example, that brings in tours, where we at the Cohoes Music Hall, we hire all professionals, and not just on stage, but our designers, like I said, our production team are all professionals from all over the country. And so we build all of our costumes, all of our scenery, everything that you see is specifically for that one show. It doesn't go anywhere or travel someplace.
Okay. Well, like I say, it's just as an example, if anyone watching saw the costumes in the Mikado last year were just phenomenal. Well, the whole thing was great, but I mean, the costumes were really something.
Yeah.
So even the people who are the technical production, choreography, they're all professional theater.
All professional, and that's why we can do what we do in a 2.5-week rehearsal period, because that's what they do for 8 hours a day, is just rehearse or just build. And so
they must really love it, I guess.
They do, but it's interesting. It's finding how to them this is a profession. To them this is a career, and this is the path that they've taken, and it's wonderful seeing the process of how these performers work. Because we send out all the music, all the scores, all the scripts a couple of months before rehearsals begin, and so day one, they're not using a script at all. They don't really need much musical rehearsal. They know everything, and so they're ready to go.
So so just for people watching, people who've never been, the quality of the performer and the technical is really top notch. I mean, you have many people that have been on Broadway, right?
We have.
And been in national touring shows.
Right, and a lot of them are union performers too. We work with Actors Equity Union, and so we bring a lot of union people in, and also for the Directors and Choreographers Union too.
Okay, so you bring in directors too, or sometimes you or Jim?
Sometimes Jim or myself. Jim does a lot more of the stage direction, whereas I dabble more in the outreach programs. But we do. We bring in all professional directors.
It is. If anyone's ever been to one of the shows, I'm just thinking to put them together in 2 weeks. It is pretty amazing. But they're pros, I guess, as they say, right? Is that the? Yeah. Well, this upcoming season, you're going to be doing October 7th through 17th, Hairspray. December 2nd through 12th is going to be A Christmas Carol, the musical. And February 17th through 27th is going to be Forever Plaid. April 7th to 17th, Cabaret. And then May 12th to May 22nd, Guys and Dolls. Let's talk a little bit about each one of these. When a Hairspray, anything you can tell us about Hairspray? I mean, it is a fun play, but it has sort of a social message. What can you say about it? Anything you want to just mention quickly about Hairspray?
We've been, I should say overall for this entire season, we had a survey last year and asking our audience base.
I was going to ask you, is this how you pick your season?
This is the first time that we've done that. And we kind of threw it in the hands of the audience and asked them what they wanted to see.
Oh, this was the first time you did a survey?
I mean, we sort of, in the box office before the show, we asked people, would you like this show? Do you like that show? And people make suggestions all the time, but for this one, it was the first time that we put it out to the audience.
And did Hairspray get a lot of?
Hairspray has been a wanted show for a few years. A lot of people have been wanting to see Hairspray, but we just received the rights for it because the national tour is over and the Broadway show closed. But it's a phenomenal piece. Like you said, it does have a little bit of a social impact and a message there. But also for the leading lady, the heroine in the show, is not your typical beautiful ingenue, so we wanted to get that message out too. But there's a great amount of soul in the show, and the energy is incredible. The 60s were such a fun time. I wish I was around for that.
And let's see. So you got the I guess as you say, the crowd favorite. I don't know, Christmas Carol the musical.
Yeah.
Now, there's so many versions of the Christmas Carol.
There are a lot of versions of it.
Which
yeah.
version is this? I don't
This is the Maury Yeston version.
All right, and it's obviously a musical.
It is. It's definitely a musical, and it's one that it sort of has this. If you think of Radio City Music Hall,
Yeah.
kind of twist and flair to it.
Okay.
So, as Scrooge is going through his dilemma, there'll be some beautiful showgirls tap dancing around him.
All right, so it's not the one that takes place in the is it Victorian England or?
It is. It's still set then.
Okay, but-
it just has this really fun modern twist to
Okay, I don't
it.
know that version.
I don't.
I'll do it.
I don't either. We'll see. We'll see if our audience likes it.
And in February, Forever Plaid.
Forever Plaid. It's we're reviving that actually.
Okay, no, I did not know. There's a movie coming out.
There's a movie coming out. Yep.
When is that? I mean, we're filming this in August. When's it coming out this fall?
This fall, I think November, it should be out. It's in this Forever Plaid is a revival for us. We our first season, we did it in the same time slot.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, a crowd favorite. People really love that show, so we're bringing it back.
And what is? I don't know that. As
If
well.
you think of boy bands,
yeah, but the original doo-wop bands, right?
very much,
Okay.
very much so. Yeah, definitely set in the 50s and the 60s as well. Great music, and it has pretty much a thin plot, if you will. But it's the music it's one of those shows that the audience is singing along the entire time, and there's audience participation. We bring somebody on stage.
Are these songs that are only in that play, or songs most people will know?
Most people will know.
Oh, okay.
These are all. It's sort of if you think of it as a review type
Okay.
of a production, people will recognize a lot of the songs.
Now, even though I just mentioned the first three, October, December, and next February, and we're filming this on August 26th, I think. Is work already started on all five or all of these?
Yeah, definitely. We've, we usually confirm and finish as far as the physical production, costume, scenery, lighting, about 2 or 3 months before the production.
Okay, so-
Casting is pretty much set all the way through Forever Plaid. In November, December, we'll finalize the rest of the casting for the rest of the shows. But we're meeting tomorrow to talk about season 9.
Oh, the whole next season? Oh, geez. I mean, you guys are ahead. Wow.
Well, for the licensing purposes and seeing what other companies are doing in the area, it's always good to.
Is licensing sometimes
It is
a problem? Not a problem. but
It's a challenge.
difficult
It's
to
definitely a
change.
challenge because we are still very close to New York City.
Yeah.
And with a few touring houses, like Proctor's, for example, as far as the hierarchy of that theater world, the Cohoes Music Hall, a small regional theater, falls beneath someone like Proctor's or obviously a Broadway production. So you see what tours are out there, you see what shows are available, and sort of what the audience is looking for at the same time. And then when we can sneak our shows in there.
Now, the last two, next April and May, we have two musicals a lot of people probably know, Cabaret.
Yeah, I was really surprised that there was such a large number of people interested in.
That got a lot of votes in your.
It really did. Yeah, a lot of votes. Candor Neb is very popular.
It is.
They love Candor Neb shows. Chicago a few years ago was a big hit for us. But Cabaret, because it's not a happy.
I didn't, I never saw it myself until a couple of years ago, and I knew a lot of the songs, but I didn't realize there's some darkness in that.
There is. Well, I mean, anything that's around,
I know,
Nazi.
No, but I mean, I knew this. I knew some of the songs. I've seen clips of the movie, but I never had seen the full thing. And then there's a couple of parts where you just go and your stomach drops. Oh my God! I didn't realize it. I knew it took place in Germany, but.
And this is the first time that we're actually experimenting. For the last few years, Broadway's been going through this period where a lot of their performers are playing instruments at the same time.
Yeah.
We're doing that with our chorus for Cabaret. So all of the Kit Kat dancers will be playing instruments as well.
I mean, there's no orchestra. Like
There will be an
Kit,
orchestra,
but they're going to be okay.
they'll be adding to it.
Well, that's
our leads won't be playing instruments, but definitely the ensemble will. So in casting that show, Jim's been having a really great time finding phenomenal singers, dancers, but also musicians at the same time.
Okay. That's one thing I was going to ask you, particularly about the next one, Guys and Dolls. When you do shows, that I would say most of us know Guys and Dolls, most of your audience, maybe we've seen it many times. How do you approach something that is so familiar? I mean, is it easier? Is it harder? How do you, I mean, you try to, like I say, for cabaret, you're going to try and have the thing, do you try to reinvent it or whatever the term is, or do you just try to go with what you, how do you approach something so familiar?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, because you never, you know, there's some shows that are just perfect in their,
in and of themselves.
In and of themselves, they work perfectly. West Side Story, you know, a few years ago, we did the original choreography, the original staging, and stayed true to the show.
Well, I would think for something like a West Side Story, you wouldn't, it can't be messed. I mean, it's such a great show. You would never want to try and reimagine it or whatever.
No, not at all. You know, one thing we encourage our directors, because we really leave it up to the director's vision and the designers. We really love to work with the team that brings something to the table. We're sort of not, if I may say, the Nazis of theater and say this is the way we want it. And we kind of are really open to the creative aspect of the show. But we do ask that they definitely just tell the story, make it that simple. You know, just tell the story. Let's not reinvent and bring in all these other elements that they feel will tell the story. But we try not to reinvent as much as we possibly can.
Or maybe I meant reimagine. I don't know.
Well, no, that's true. I mean, and we've had some, you know, in addition to auditioning the actors, we also interview and audition our directors. And we give them a list of shows that we're doing and ask them to come in with their vision or their idea of what that show may be. And sometimes we get some really
I can imagine.
far-fetched, out there ideas. And it's not really something we want to institute, revamp, rethink.
Well, when you get the licensing fees, whatever it is, are there certain rules that you can't change the script? Or you can't?
There is, yeah, there definitely are. You can't, especially with so many musicals that were then transformed into movies, and a lot of times you see the movie and you go, that's the number I want to do.
There's different songs that weren't in the...
Right, and they weren't in the stage version. And so some people, we ask, there's some times where we do ask and say, can we do the show, the movie version, and a lot of times it's no. And we are very close to New York, and so a lot of these licensing companies do see what we're doing and make sure that we follow those rules. And so omitting anything from the play or adding is...
What about sometimes when you see like a original Broadway production and then there was songs cut?
Right.
Can you put those in if you want? Or
you sure can. It depends on what is licensed.
Oh, okay.
You know, if for example, Gypsy, there were a few songs that were licensed that we decided not to include, because a lot of times for the older shows, when they were written in the 40s or the 50s and produced, it was a package, and then when it was revived, let's say in the 80s or the 90s, they might have added some music that wasn't part of the original, but it was already written for the show.
Okay, they just had never used it.
Yeah, so they never used it, and then they tried it again in the revival, and now everybody wants to use it.
Okay.
So it's it lets you know what the vaults of theater or these specific shows have.
Well, it is always amazing. Sometimes I'll get a cast album from some show, and there's like 4 or 5 songs that weren't, and they're just great. You're like, why wasn't that in the show?
Right.
Or maybe it's a time thing. I don't know.
I found a CD that a friend gave me years ago. It was a Sondheim CD of all the songs that never made it into his shows.
Oh, that would be a huge compilation.
It's so interesting. Yeah. Chino in West Side Story had a solo.
Okay.
That I listened to, and I thought, oh, I can see why it didn't make the show.
Yeah.
Why it didn't make the cut, but it was really interesting to see that. You know, Sunday in the Park had, so Sondheim and him.
Well, there was one song that was never in Forum that I forgot his name, the general there, is called There's Something About a War. And it's like really funny, but it's really about slaughtering and killing people. It's like very satiric, but I can see it maybe in 1962, whenever that came out, they didn't want to, but it's hilarious. I mean, I don't think it's ever been incorporated. Well, the last show you're doing next May, Guys and Dolls, this is the one I was thinking of that probably everyone knows, is that, what can you say about that? And it's just any going to be anything different, or you can have the gangsters playing instruments, or
No. I think the costume designer has this really great idea, and it was something that was it was just recently revived, but back I think in the late '80s, it was revived again with
Nathan Lane.
And their idea was all of the crapshooters, all the gangsters had like one uniform color of their suits, and so it was a very pastel production, and our costume designer wants to take the twist on that as well. So I think for that one, visually, I think we are going to kind of stretch the boundaries a little bit. But as far as the show, it has its almost own language. The Runyon Land kind of characters, and their speech patterns are kind of unique, but I don't think we'll be changing too much of that.
That's good.
Besides the visual. And
now, did that get a lot of votes? I mean,
it did. It did. That one's been a crowd favorite for a long time. It really has, and we have the same gentleman who's going to choreograph it, Chris Patterson, who just choreographed "Singing in the Rain" for us.
I saw that was really good.
Yeah, and he's incredibly excited about it. So I think we're going to have some really great dancing in it.
Well, I gotta say, I was saying to earlier, you're doing musicals, you have professionals. The singing is always wonderful, but I should say, in the shows with a lot of dancing, like in "Singing in the Rain," there's some great dancing numbers in that.
And that's you bring that up, and that's where we do stretch the artistic muscles a little bit. Sometimes there isn't a tap number in it, and we transform that number into a tap number. So there's where we kind of stretch the artistic limitations a little bit. Yeah, so we had some things like that, like our 42nd Street. I think we added, 8 minutes worth of music in the show just because we wanted more dance breaks.
Now, what does some of your actors that come in? They're from all over the country, right?
They are.
A lot of them. Now, I guess, what do they think of the hall? I mean, it is this 1874, the style. I mean, the stage might be a little bit on the small side, but what do they like? I mean, the other thing I should mention, you're going back to the old days, I guess. Most of your shows you do without microphones,
right?
So it definitely sounds different. I mean, when I went to the Mikado, it's definitely a different sound. Do they like this, or do they not like? Do they? They think it's
the older performers really enjoy it because they remember
the days of
no amplification, and a lot of their training wasn't with amplification, so they understand the projection and they understand how to work in a space like that. A lot of the young ones don't, because in college they're wearing microphones everywhere and they're not used to the projection, and so we make sure that in New York, when we audition people, we get the largest studio space there is.
But you actually are telling in the auditions, look, there's going to be no microphone.
And
does that ever make people drop out or anything? Or?
No, but you can definitely see who's equipped. And so in that large studio space, we ask them to stand far, far against the wall, and we're on the opposite end, and ask them to be quiet and intimate, still loud, which is a trick in itself. And so they know day one that but it's acoustically perfect, our space. It really is, if you know how to use your strengths that way. But I think a lot of people really love the intimacy of the music hall. We only see 450.
There's not a bad, for people watching, there's not a bad seat in there.
There isn't. And when you're on that stage and you see the wraparound balcony, you really feel like you're in a performance space. It's not a barn and it's not a big black box. So it's got a lot of character to it. Our New York performers and directors, designers love working in the space. Yeah, sure, there's some limitations because of its size, but they love the intimacy and sensing what the audience is feeling. So it becomes this unified experience for them, and they like that. And I think they like getting away from the city for a few weeks. Our contract is really flexible, where we only our performances are only Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
So on Sunday evening, after the matinee performance, they usually head back to New York
Okay.
and either go back to class or
Yeah.
to audition for their next production, or if they've got
So if someone's up here for a
employment.
show, they're here for, what, a month, say?
Yeah,
or
it's
more or
usually a
less?
4 or 5 week contract. The first 2.5 weeks of rehearsal, they're here all the time. But once we open, they go back to New York.
Okay. Now, so that's the upcoming season. I'll mention it at the end, but now you have all these other things going on with kids, with seniors, with the Center for Disability Services. You have summer programs. I think this morning you were just telling me you were having theater
do.
camp you just came from.
We just came from theater camp. We've got.
How can, I'm trying to think, maybe we could just cover them all in one shot here. How can people, or tell us what these programs are and maybe how people can get involved?
Yeah,
Like,
like I said in the beginning, we started with just our children's program, and we wanted to make it a full theater experience for kids. There are a lot of kids who want to perform, of course, and their parents give them all the resources to become really great performers, being so close to New York. A lot of our kids take classes in the city and
Really?
come back up and do a lot of performing up here. But there's a whole group of kids who are into the technical production and
I mean, kids that want to be lighting
they want to be
designers
lighting
or-
and scenic, yeah. And so we're now trying to really encourage those kids. And so a lot of our designers also hold workshops for those kids interested. So throughout the year, not just for the performers, we have classes, but we also have classes for the technicians, the wannabe technicians. And it wasn't until a few years ago we wanted the kids to do a little bit more in the community and make theater and their experience a little bit more of a civil opportunity for them and giving back to their communities. And so we started linking with senior centers.
Okay.
And so it just sort of developed into an intergenerational.
I mean, they go and do little shows? the senior-
We started with just performance in senior citizen centers, and what happened is it developed having one day we had a Christmas card making storytelling event, and so here are these kids talking to seniors about their Christmas and how they experienced Christmas, and the seniors did the same, and then we had this generational gap, and they didn't really understand how back then they used to make their dolls and they used to make their own clothing, and now these kids are explaining to them how to work
I know.
a Wii system. And then they got up and here, and it was a great day where seniors were playing with PlayStations, and then these other kids were making dolls, so then we thought, okay, this can really develop into a really great type of program with giving it some kind of artistic outlet. And we started a monologue storytelling time where the seniors and the kids would write monologues, and then they would switch them, and so the kids would
do it. Oh, okay.
would do what the seniors say in their monologues, and then the seniors would do what the kids were saying in their monologues. So it.
Is this the one it's called CR
Generations.
Generations?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're using the arts to kind of bridge that generational gap with our kids and our seniors, and so we're working on in the spring a show with the seniors and kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's sort of a musical version of their lives and storytelling of their lives.
Well, I said in the beginning, I went to the show with the people for the Center for Disability Services. That was really amazing. And you've been working with them for almost a year now?
Almost a year now. A good supporter of ours who used to run Smith's Restaurant in the city of Cohoes, Eunice Antonucci, has been a board member at the Center for Disability Services for a while. And she's been threatening for a few years to say, I'm going to get you guys together with the center, and you guys are going to do something. And all right, Eunice. But you finally did. And we just, I knew that the arts and theater is a great educational tool, but never thought about taking it to people with disabilities, and found out that they're incredibly talented and also have a voice. And so in November of last year, I started working with them, and just for a few hours a week. And then because of this Pepsi grant that we received, it really was the catalyst in making this program come together. And it's been an incredibly rewarding experience.
Well, at the show, they were they were into it. I mean, it
They
was
really were.
and the audience, I think, is all their. Oh, it was really.
Yeah. The biggest compliment we received was audience members saying, I forgot that there were people with disabilities. And I have to explain, I mean, some of them have Down syndrome. It's a lot of it is all developmental disability, but there are a few of them were in wheelchairs.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, here's one lady who's in a wheelchair, and we're doing a Jailhouse Rock Elvis number, and I said, I need you to dance. And she goes, I can't dance. I'm in a wheelchair. What are you crazy? And I said, no, you can dance. You have head and shoulders and arms. So she's dancing, you know. And so I pushed and stretched their what they thought their limitations were, and the audience too. I think our audiences, they're. Maybe 20 years ago, we didn't want to hear someone with disability perform or hear or see that. I think now our audiences really want that, and you know, and they were incredibly talented. We had two of them do the balcony scene.
That's right.
From Romeo and Juliet.
And the guy who sang "Love Me Tender" had a really nice voice.
Great voice, and a kid who loves Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it. Oh,
yeah,
right.
he did the whole
That
Michael
guy
Jackson
was good.
medley. He was really
That guy was good. Yeah.
So that's we're going to continue with.
So you might do another one next year. Maybe.
Oh, we are. Oh, that program is. We've planned the next 3 years of that program, and so now we're going into the center and doing more specific workshops. There are some consumers from the center who are interested in just movement, and so we're going to have a movement. Okay. Some of them are really working on speech, and so there's a monologue and scene study, and then some of them really just want to do the performing. Yeah. I think there are hams everywhere, and so we're going to.
Well, so we have all these programs now. We have one other event we'll talk about before we go here. On Saturday night, September 25th, the show will be on before that. You're having a big gala event. You're going to close the street off. Is this tell us about that. Is that a money raiser, or is it just a celebration of everything?
It's a little bit of everything, yeah. It's definitely our biggest fundraiser of the year, and the way it started was, this is the second time we're closing off Remsen Street right in front of the music hall and pitching a really big tent. The Swing Docs will be performing that night. But a few years ago we decided to do this, and that was the first time that we announced our season. So the gala has been known as the event where CR Productions announces what they're doing the next
year. Oh, you mean for
upcoming
2011-12?
Right.
I know,
and normally it's in February.
But people love to know what's going on the next year.
You know, and I thought it was. I thought Jim goes, I want to announce the season and make a big brouhaha, and I was like, it's not like the Oscars. I mean, but people they love to know.
They want
to be on the inside track.
To look forward, I know. And so a ticket's $50, but tell us what you get for $50.
$50, you get food. There's a cash bar involved. The entertainment will be incredibly exciting too. Obviously, the Swing Docs are great. So food, dancing, dinner,
and the big announcement of the next.
Well, it's a little. This is in September. It's more of the celebratory idea of it. Yeah, we won't announce our season until January. Okay. So we're changing it up just a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, but we hope that the weather holds out and it's a fun night out on the streets of Cohoes. There'll be fireworks and lights and everything.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a really good time.
Good. Well, that's. I'll say the season one more time. Hairspray, October 7th through 17th. Christmas Carol, December 2nd through 12th. Forever Plaid, because I got the TBA here. Forever Plaid, February 17th to 27th. Cabaret, April 7th to 17th. And Guys and Dolls, May 12th to 22nd. The shows go from, Thursday through Sunday?
Thursday through Sunday.
2 shows on Saturday?
That's right.
Saturday. Yep. And we have all these other events and educational programs. If you go to cohoesmusichall.com, it'll be on the screen. There's all kinds of stuff on there. The big gala event, September 25th. This show will be on during the fall, and so hopefully we'll get some other people. It's really professional theater, as Tony explained, and Broadway caliber. And I should say, I was going to say this, like 1/3 the price for a Broadway show? The ticket prices are $25, $30, and $35. It's well worth it. I've been there. I went to 3 shows last year. It is professional theater, so 1/3 the price, I guess.
It is.
So Tony, thanks for coming, and maybe hopefully some people watching will get over to the Cohoes Music Hall this whole season, and so we'll see you next time on Getting to Know You.